The internet didn't just wake up to gossip this time. It woke up to a storm. Not the kind that slowly builds, but the kind that hits all at once, loud and impossible to ignore. And at the center of it was one name suddenly dominating every timeline: Tasha K. What started as a single live stream quickly spiraled into something much bigger. The moment she hit record, no one could have predicted just how chaotic things would become. Within minutes, social media felt like it was on fire. This wasn't being framed as speculation or loose talk. It was presented as evidence, receipts, claims, and alleged proof stacked together in a way that demanded attention. And that's what made it different. Because if even a small portion of what was being shared turned out to be true, it had the potential to completely flip the narrative people thought they understood. For years, Claressa Shields built her reputation on dominance, discipline, and focus. Inside the ring, she is widely seen as unstoppable, someone whose skill and determination make her nearly untouchable. But suddenly, outside the ring, her name was being pulled into one of the most talked about online controversies. And it didn't stop there. The situation quickly expanded into a complicated web involving Papoose and his longtime wife, Remy. What had once existed as quiet whispers and vague speculation was now being dragged into full public view. At first, the leaks seemed almost harmless. Just a few screenshots shared by anonymous accounts claiming insider knowledge. The messages appeared casual. Mentions of meeting up, late-night conversations, and vague apologies. On the surface, nothing seemed too serious. But as people began to examine the details more closely, the tone started to shift. 16,577. Every word began to feel intentional. Every emoji, every pause, every gap in conversation suddenly carried weight. What initially looked simple started hinting at something much deeper. And that's when the real questions began to form. Was all of this just coincidence? Or was there a hidden story unfolding behind the scenes? As expected, the internet did what it always does: it dissected everything. Entire threads exploded overnight. TikTok creators analyzed every frame, while theories spread faster than facts. Some rushed to defend Claressa Shields, arguing that someone with her legacy wouldn't risk everything for something like this. Others believed the alleged receipts painted a completely different picture, one filled with secrecy, mixed signals, and possible betrayal. The narrative began to split in real time, with no clear agreement on what was actually true. Then came the moment that changed everything. The first audio clip leaked. A shaky, emotional voice echoed through the recording, sounding like it came straight out of a private confrontation. One line stood out and quickly spread across every platform. "You told me she was just a distraction." Then the audio cut off. That was it. Just a few seconds. But it was enough. Within minutes, the clip went viral. Some people were convinced it was authentic. Others dismissed it as fabricated. But by that point, it didn't even matter. The damage had already been done. The situation had crossed a line, from rumor into full-blown scandal. And just when it seemed like things couldn't escalate further, they did. Overnight, a new wave of alleged screenshots surfaced. This time, they were far more detailed. Conversations reportedly linked to Claressa Shields began circulating alongside claims about Papoose's private life. These weren't vague or open-ended messages anymore. They included specific dates, times, and even locations, forming what looked like a timeline of secret interactions that contradicted the public. Social media immediately went into overdrive. People weren't just reading these messages, they were analyzing them like evidence in a courtroom. Every timestamp, every reply, every delay became part of a larger theory. Some users pointed out inconsistencies, suggesting the leaks might not be reliable. Others argued those same inconsistencies made the situation feel more realistic. The chaos spread rapidly, growing more complicated with every new post. Then came another escalation: leaked audio recordings that were impossible to ignore. These clips weren't subtle. The voices were raw, emotional, and intense. One particular exchange sent shockwaves through social media. A frustrated voice said, "I thought I was the only one." The response came back cold and direct. "You were never the only one." Not really. That single moment pushed the narrative into an entirely new level of intensity. Whether the recordings were real or not became almost irrelevant. Perception had already taken control. And on the internet, perception can be more powerful than proof. By the next morning, Claressa Shields was trending everywhere. Words like betrayal, scandal, and secrets filled timelines. Memes spread rapidly. Reaction videos gained millions of views. Entire discussions were dedicated to breaking down every possible angle. But as the noise grew louder, something important began to shift. This was no longer just about what happened. It became about who people chose to believe. And belief, especially online, doesn't always follow logic. It follows emotion. As more alleged messages surfaced, a new narrative began to form. Some claims suggested that Papoose may have been juggling multiple relationships, telling different stories to different people at the same time. Meanwhile, subtle and cryptic posts from Remy added fuel to the fire. Short captions, vague statements, nothing confirmed, yet everything hinted. And in a situation like this, hints are more than enough to keep speculation alive. Then came a twist no one saw coming. New alleged insider claims suggested that parts of the story may have been leaked intentionally, not by accident, but on purpose. That raised a whole new set of questions. If true, what was the motive? Some believed it was revenge. Others thought it was jealousy. A few suggested it could be the result of someone reaching a breaking point after holding onto secrets for too long. Suddenly, the focus wasn't just on the people in the spotlight, it extended to those behind the scenes. At the same time, another theory began gaining traction. What if Claressa Shields didn't know the full truth? Some alleged messages hinted that she may have believed she was in a committed situation, while other pieces of information suggested something completely different. That idea alone divided the internet even further. Was she being misled? Or was she fully aware of everything? The more people debated, the less clear the answers became. And throughout all of this, one thing stood out more than anything else: silence. No direct statements. No clear responses. Just growing speculation. In situations like this, silence doesn't calm the storm, it fuels it. Every unanswered question creates space for new theories, new assumptions, and new versions of the truth. But just when people thought they had seen it all, another warning surfaced. Tasha K hinted that the biggest receipts hadn't even been released yet. According to her, everything circulating so far might only be the surface. The real evidence, full timelines, detailed conversations, and possibly even location data could still be coming. And if that's true, then everything people believe right now could change instantly. Because the most critical moment in any controversy isn't when accusations appear, it's when undeniable proof emerges. And if those final receipts ever surface, they won't just add to the story. They could completely rewrite it. At this point, the situation had evolved far beyond leaked messages and viral clips. It had turned into a full-scale digital trial, one where every post, every reaction, and every moment of silence was treated as evidence. And at the center of it all remained Claressa Shields, whose name was now tied to a storm that showed no signs of slowing down. As discussions continued, attention began shifting toward the long-term impact. This wasn't just about personal drama anymore. It was about reputation, legacy, and career risk. The questions started emerging about how this could affect public perception, endorsements, and future opportunities. In professional sports, image can be just as important as performance. And when controversy takes over, even the strongest reputations can face pressure. At the same time, Papoose's role became even more central to the narrative. Theories, interpretations, and speculation continued to circulate, many suggesting a more complicated reality than initially expected. Meanwhile, Remy remained a constant presence through subtle signals, never confirming anything directly, yet somehow saying enough to keep attention locked in. In a story driven by perception, even the smallest hint can become a headline. Perhaps the most unsettling part of all this was how quickly narratives were being created and rewritten. On social media, truth doesn't always wait for confirmation. Roles were assigned almost instantly: victim, manipulator, betrayed, betrayer. And with every new alleged leak, Those roles kept shifting. One moment someone seemed innocent. The next, they were at the center of suspicion. It became increasingly difficult to separate fact from assumption. Behind the scenes, there were also signs that things might be even more intense than what the public could see. Reports of private confrontations, emotional conversations, and unreleased recordings added another layer of mystery. Some insiders even suggested that a single unreleased piece of evidence could change everything. And if that moment ever comes, it could finally answer the question everyone has been asking from the beginning. What really happened? Because despite everything that has surfaced, the truth still feels incomplete. Every screenshot, every voice note, every claim, they all tell parts of the story, but not the full picture. And that's what makes this situation so unpredictable. The next revelation won't just add to the narrative, it could completely flip it. So, where does that leave things now? Somewhere between chaos and uncertainty, a place where speculation moves faster than facts and where perception shapes reality in real time. One thing, however, is clear. No matter how this situation unfolds, everyone involved will feel the impact. Careers, reputations, and relationships have all been pulled into a spotlight that doesn't switch off. And maybe that's the real takeaway. In the digital age, once a story like this begins, it doesn't just unfold, it escalates. It grows, evolves, and takes on a life of its own. Whether the allegations are true, false, or somewhere in between, the effects are already real. Because once the internet locks in, there's no going back. Still, one thing remains certain. This story isn't over yet. The biggest revelations may still be out there. The final piece of the puzzle may not have dropped. And when it does, it could completely change everything people think they know about Claressa Shields, Papoose, and Remy. If you followed this far, then you already understand. This is one of those situations that can shift at any moment. Stay engaged, stay aware, and keep watching closely.